Welcome back to DXB Today. Now, our next guest has created some of the most incredible and transformational designs that are reimagining the future of urban living. Please welcome to the show the CEO of URB, Baharash Bagherian. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I was practicing it so much next to you. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a very busy man.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, we love it. Now, I'm so excited to learn about what projects URB has been involved in that all of us would know about, because I think there's a few.
Yes, I think in Dubai in particular, I think our most recent project has really captured the imagination of people. It's the Loop in Dubai, which is a 93-kilometer future highway for cycling, as well as walking and running. And we're also looking at other mixed-use sustainable developments, the Agri-Hub, which is going to promote agri-tourism within UAE as well as the region. And we also have the Urban Tech District in Dubai as well, which is going to empower the next generation of urban tech companies as well as startups in UAE.
So just a few small projects then you've been working on at URB?
And beyond, obviously, our focus is really trying to accelerate our mission, which is to really accelerate towards developments, towards sustainability.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, and we're taking a look as we speak of some of those projects. And even if they were small, I'd say great things have small beginnings. But Baharash, this is what brings me to this question. When these designs from a vision into physical form, bring me to the process of their birth. Do they start from a business perspective or from a people's preference?
It's both. So we think of it in a holistic way. So sustainability itself needs to be commercially viable. There needs to be a return on investment. So when we look at a development, we always look at the feasibility of it first. Is it something that's going to be investable from a private sector? And that's where we need to be heading towards accelerating sustainability within the region, not relying on government funds or public funding to actually create these assets, how we can bring in people at an early stage and also think of it as a phased project. These cities, they're not just going to be built in one go. They're going to be phased, and that solution needs to be part of that lifestyle. So when we focus on what kind of assets we need to create, we always start with the people. What's going to enhance that lifestyle of the people living there? And it's everyone. It's not just the people who will buy these properties, but actually look at how are we going to operate these assets, and you look at all the income levels, from the low-paid, mid-paid, as well as the high-paid. And they should also have an opportunity to be part of that development. So it's no longer looking at segregation, but also including them at a subplot level.
I don't want to chip a lot of time here, but I only have one wish of a life enhancement in the future. I dream of a day where I go outside one day and I say, it's hot, open the air conditioner. You know, and outside air conditioner, that's what I dream of.
But you know, you can also reduce the temperature much less without an air conditioner.
But I think
that's what people are misunderstanding, that actually it's easy to innovate, right? So innovation is what's going to fuel that transition. So I think in this region, most of our energy is used on AC, and we need less of that, right? So how we can really rethink how we are developing and creating those projects, and that really requires a holistic and just a reinvention, not just of what we're creating, but also of the process itself. So the entire supply chain, so it's not just the developer, but also the operator, the people who are going to construct it. So when you think of the entire loop, how you can create a more greener economy as well. And that's why we are operating beyond just a developer. We are also incubating, we are investing in startups as well as businesses who are tackling some of these issues. Because these issues are so broad. So how we could actually grow food inside our buildings as well as outside our buildings, right? How we could actually produce our energy on site in a much more economically viable way. How we could actually create our own water on site. Most of our water here is from desalination, right? So we need more creativity as well as innovation as well.
Now, Baharash, you raised a very interesting point that's piqued my attention. You said the ROI, the return on investment on these projects, has to be captivated. Now, a city like Dubai is arguably one of the most futuristic cities in the world, right? So the return on investment is never really financial for these beautiful buildings. If you think about the Burj Khalifa, the Museum of the Future, the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, it's more than financial. So what kind of metrics are the governments looking for here from a return on investment perspective to building these beautiful...
So even though you might think there is no return, there is actually a lot of return on investment of these projects, and it's to do with tourism. And I think there are many examples globally where some buildings were built and it actually brought more tourism to that area that people didn't know about. Bilbao is a very good example. This is a village, a city in Spain that nobody knew about, but when they built the Guggenheim Museum there, suddenly everybody knew about it. So sometimes there is a wider return on investment. So I think in our case, it's always looking at opportunities first, right? So when it comes to the tourism, how we could look at alternative types of tourism. So agritourism is something very new in this region. We have rural communities that are producing crops. How could we actually activate that and actually promote that further? So we need to first look at opportunities and where we could do a lot of, let's say, not just investment, but also how we could empower that region itself to put sustainability at its heart.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
It is indeed.
And what were you saying about, because I heard that you and Esra were deep in conversation before we started the show this evening. What were you going on about there? Because there's obviously a lot going on.
We were talking about investment, indeed, and the future of these projects, and then in terms of longevity. There are some researchers that state, for example, that by 2050, the UAE or the Middle East is not livable anymore because of water scarcity, heat, global warming, humidity, sandstorms, all these elements. How do you tackle that in your projects?
I think this is where you need to look 40 years ahead when you develop projects. So at a smaller scale, obviously, each of these projects will have a collective impact, but the big challenge is at a mega scale. An existing city that was built for cars, an existing cities where it's very much reliant on fossil fuel, and how to enable that transition quicker, right? So when you do it at a bigger scale, you need to look at various sectors holistically. It's not just focusing on one. Yes, the built environment contributes the most towards global warming, but if you look at each of these pillars, food, how we could actually create our own food security within the region, so we don't actually import food to Dubai, but also do it in a creative way. So it's no longer let's create massive farms, but how we could actually encourage more developers to include food farming inside their own developments. So at a local level, within a few meters, I have access to locally grown products, right? And the same with energy, how we could actually decentralize the energy. It's about creating more microgrids, so even developments themselves can produce their own energy. And it's not enough to just talk about self-sufficiency, how we could even create climate-positive cities that produce more food, more energy, more water. I think there are certain challenges that we need to really deal with today. And that's where we need to incubate and actually promote more urban tech. And I think technology has a big part to play with that.
Huge.
But at the core of it is businesses and people. So
Give the planet time to heal.
Exactly. We shouldn't just say, okay, let's let the governments deal with this issue. We should empower people from the bottom up and actually grow that economy.
Yeah, and that's absolutely incredible. I know that we're all fascinated. We're all just hanging on your every word. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. And I would love to speak to you more about this. But where can people find you? Get hold of you on Instagram, something like that?
We are on Instagram, but we are also. The website has a lot of resources, so we believe in open data and sharing that knowledge. So urb.ae has all the information.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. And I'm sorry that we've had to kind of cut it a bit short because I could listen to you and talk to you for ages, but thank you so much.
Pleasure being here.
Now, Baharash, that was absolutely fascinating.